As workers hack at the dusty earth of a Mexican construction site, a chance discovery stops them in their tracks. They've just upturned something seriously unsettling. A colossal bone some 7 foot in length. And it's not alone. Hundreds more of the eerie relics are soon heaved from the dirt. This is some sort of freakish graveyard, the resting place for a horde of enormous beasts. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. As well as being gigantic, the bones are also exceptionally rare. And while this detail left many archaeologists thrilled, the discovery of subterranean skeletons didn't please every party with links to the Mexico City site. The Mexican authorities had hoped to construct a brand new airport on the plot by 2022, you see. But the excavation of the curious relics hampered the project's progress. Archaeological work is a slow process after all. Excavating the airport site took experts almost a year to complete. The land's gruesome underground secret was first recognized in late 2019. Of course, North America's recent past has been dominated by human activity. Mexico City, for example, was founded by the Aztecs in the first half of the 14th century. And with such a lengthy and storied past, it's perhaps unsurprising that the region has gifted archaeologists so many remarkable artifacts from long ago. Chief among these bodies of water was the huge Lake Texcoco, which covered more than 2,000 square miles. Eventually, the Aztecs would choose an island in Lake Texcoco as the setting for Tenochtitlan, the settlement that would later become Mexico City. But for a long time, the region was home to a far wilder way of life. Early humans eked out a living on the huge lake shores, long before the Aztecs arrived after all. And they likely shared the land with an array of spectacular beasts. Yes, huge creatures that weighed in at more than 100 pounds could be seen roaming the Mexican landscape many millennia ago. This was the time of the so-called Megafauna, according to experts. And in North America, these huge species often took the form of oversized ancestors of the animals that we know and love today. So could one of these ancient giants have left behind the bones that eventually turned up beneath Santa Lucia Airport? Might the skeletons have belonged to the ancient horses that emerged on the North American continent some 50 million years ago? Apparently, these creatures disappeared from the region around the 12th century before Christ. The remains could have also belonged to a dire wolf. Fossils belonging to these giant creatures have been recovered from modern-day Mexico, after all. Perhaps the skeletons at Santa Lucia Airport were also left behind by these lumbering beasts. Humans are thought to have been present in the Valley of Mexico up to 12,000 years ago, you see. This means that they likely interacted with a number of the Megafauna species that once inhabited the region. In fact, hunting is believed to have played a significant role in the decline of these giant creatures. Interestingly, though, it wasn't just their relationship with man that sealed the fate of these colossal beasts. Humans adapted as temperatures began to rise, but creatures such as the ground sloth and the saber-toothed cat did not, and one by one, the continent's megafauna succumbed to extinction, leaving nothing but their great bones behind. Many thousands of years later, in 2019, archaeologists began excavating the ground where the new Santa Lucia facility was to be built. Originally an Air Force base, the project was announced by the President of Mexico in the first half of 2019. Before that, the authorities had planned to build a new airport to the northeast of Mexico City, but a referendum had stalled work on that project. The Santa Lucia site was selected as a suitable alternative then, and work began on expanding the former base into a commercial airport. But as construction got underway, archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History were keen to be involved. They had heard that some startling excavations were taking place at a dig site nearby, you see. So they wanted the chance to investigate the airport plot as well. The nearby dig had taken place outside the town of Toltec, which is some 12 miles from the Santa Lucia airport site. And in November 2019, the researchers responsible for the project announced some startling news. They had uncovered a pair of artificial pits seemingly dug by humans thousands of years ago. And evidence suggested that these structures had played a role in an innovative ancient hunting technique, and a successful one at that. Amazingly, The researchers found no fewer than 14 skeletons inside the Toltec pits, each belonging to the species known as the Columbian mammoth. The experts theorize that early humans had constructed the 6-foot-deep traps so that the huge creatures could not escape. Primitive hunters may even have actively chased the animals towards their fate. But what did the hunters do with these huge mammoths once they'd caught them? It's believed that they butchered the creatures for their meat and bone. Altogether, it was a far more sophisticated approach than the primitive spear hunting that many associate with this time. So were these early humans perhaps smarter than they have been given credit for? Yes, spotters were enlisted to ensure that construction work at the Santa Lucia site didn't accidentally damage any fragile bones. The Santa Lucia airport site is worth protecting, it seems. Dubbed Mammoth Central by some archaeologists, the dig could well provide some vital clues to how these creatures lived and what led to their extinction. But how did so many of them end up dying in the same location? According to researchers, they may have become trapped in the soft soil of the lakeshore. At the moment, though, experts are unsure whether or not humans played a role in this gruesome fate. The mammoths may have found themselves stuck in the marshy ground after visiting the lake to feed. But did early hunters take advantage of the natural trap that was created by the lake? Nava wouldn't rule out the possibility that humans have been involved. It's possible early hunters may have chased the mammoths into the mud, he told the Associated Press. They had a very structured and organized division of labor. In fact, archaeologists have found several tools forged from the creature's bones close to the skeletons. But the tools made of bone aren't necessarily proof that humans utilized the natural trap of Lake Xaltocan to hunt mammoths. Alternatively, they may have butchered the creatures after they became stuck in the mud and died. Or the tools could have been crafted from the bones of animals killed elsewhere before being brought to the site. Experts plan to carry out tests on the skeletons to see if they show any signs of human interference. Until this can be determined, though, they can only speculate about the relationship between mammoths and the early inhabitants of Lake Xaltocan. That said, the bones have still proved invaluable to scientists studying these ancient creatures. Experts believe that the species known as the Columbian mammoth first appeared in North America around 1 million years ago. The creature's ancestor, the steppe mammoth, had arrived in the region from Asia several millennia before, and for thousands of years, these giant beasts roamed the Valley of Mexico and feasted on the local vegetation. According to scientists, these mammoths were capable of growing over 13 feet tall, around the same height as an adult female giraffe. And while similar species in Europe evolved thick, hairy coats to insulate them from the cold, their North American counterparts did not. Online news outlet Business Insider also notes that the Columbian mammoth likely had a lifespan similar to that of a modern human, between 70 and 80 years. Although many people are familiar with the image of humans hunting mammoths, the two species likely only coexisted for a short period. The Columbian mammoth died out, of course, but the Paleo-Americans who hunted the species eventually disappeared too. So was man responsible for the great beast's extinction, or was something else at play? Well, scientists hope that the Santa Lucia discovery might help to shed some light on the Columbian mammoth's decline. Speaking to the Associated Press in September 2020, paleontologist Joaquin Arroyo Cabrales explained, "What caused these animals' extinction? Everywhere there is a debate, whether it was climate change or the presence of humans. I think in the end, the decision will be that there was a synergy effect between climate change and human presence. And the Santa Lucia airport discovery has brought the world of science one step closer to solving that mystery. After all, it is rare to find such a large grouping of mammoth skeletons together in one place." Paleontologist Ashley Lager told the Associated Press in September 2020, "A very specific set of conditions that allow for a collection of remains in an area, but also be preserved as fossils, must be met. There needs to be a means for them to be buried rapidly and experience low oxygen levels. Mammoth graveyards such as this one are rare, but humans have been uncovering their giant bones for hundreds of years. In fact, even the Aztecs, who ruled from nearby Tenochtitlan, once stumbled across vast skeletons buried beneath the ground." Archaeologists announced in September 2020 that at least 200 vast skeletons had been discovered at the site. Not only that, they believed that there were more waiting to be excavated. And with this revelation, Santa Lucia Airport shattered the record for the most mammoth bones ever found at a single location. At the moment, though, experts are unsure whether or not humans played a role in this gruesome fate. The mammoths may have found themselves stuck in the marshy ground after visiting the lake to feed.